collective power. The keynote speaker? A 76-year-old white guy. That would be Bernie Sanders. Yes, there is backlash, and some say for good reason. The convention organizers are the same group that organized that huge rally during Mr. Trump's inauguration. It was a celebration of women, although critics say it was exclusionary too, since it didn't welcome women who were anti-abortion. Joining me now, one of the speakers at the upcoming Women's Convention, Nomiki Konst. She's the host of The Filter on Sirius XM Progress and a former surrogate for Bernie Sanders. Also joining me is Ryun, a CEO of America Majority, a conservative. Welcome to both of you. So, Nomiki, I'm going to start with you because you're speaking at that Women's Convention. Why did they choose Bernie Sanders to be their keynote?
Well, let's just clear the facts up a little bit. The actual keynote of this convention is the person that's being honored. The convention is honoring Representative Maxine Waters, who is giving the opening keynote, and that was press released weeks ago, but nobody paid attention. And it's actually called Reclaiming Our Time in honor of Maxine Waters. There are 60 women plus who are speaking, a diverse group of women, all different factions of the progressive movement, from the Bernie side, the Hillary side, all over the place.
But the most famous one is Bernie Sanders.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think that, you know, we need our allies in this movement. The four organizers of this movement realize that we need all different types of voices to amplify the message of what it means to be a feminist today. Is it just about reproductive issues? Reproductive issues, incredibly important, but is it also about economic issues? I mean, that's what they discussed in the civil rights movement. In the 60s, you need your allies, and Bernie Sanders is one of the speakers. And of course, he was the most popular politician, so he's gonna get that attention. But Carmen Perez, Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour, and Bob Bland worked very hard with their team to build a unity set of principles to reflect the diverse group of feminists that are out there. And feminists are also men. We need those allies out there in the movement.
Okay, so Ned, Hillary Clinton is not speaking at this event. The organizers said her schedule would not allow it, right? That's why. But neither are like Senators Harris or Senator Warren or Kirsten Gillibrand. They're not available either. So I just wanted to pick your brain on this.
So it strikes me as a little odd that none of those women were available for this convention. And I have to admit, as being a conservative, seeing a 76-year-old white male as the opening speaker for a women's convention struck me as odd. Again, Hillary Clinton was not highlighted for the Women's March either as one of the 28 revolutionary women. Somehow is not at this convention. Carol, I look at this as a little bit of a microcosm too, as everybody wants to focus on Trump Republicans versus McConnell Republicans. They've been missing a little bit of the story of the Bernie Sanders Democrats versus the Clinton Democrats. And as I think you're seeing this whole process take place on the Republican side, there is very much something taking place on the Democrat side to change the essence of what that party is going to look like moving forward. And I think that's going to be one of these stories as a microcosm. 2018, 2020, what does the Democrat Party look like moving forward as the Republican Party is kind of going through this transition as well?
So
we'll see how this all plays out.
Is that it, Nomiki? Like Hillary Clinton's old school and she's being kind of pushed aside even by powerful women's groups?
Absolutely it is.
As somebody who's on the Unity Reform Commission in the Democratic Party, I'm incredibly familiar with the struggles to reform the party. But I don't think that's the story here. Both, Secretary Clinton was invited to the Women's March. She could not attend. Secretary Clinton was invited to Women's Convention, as was Senator Harris and Gillibrand and Warren. They were not able to go. But you know who is there? There's a diverse group of Hillary supporters who are at that convention speaking. You know, Representative Maxine Waters was a Hillary supporter, and she is the opening speaker. So I just want to set the record straight there. She is the opening speaker, and we cannot erase her. And that is not fair to erase her when we have 60-plus strong, passionate female leaders out there who are going to be speaking, and we're getting distracted by somebody who is an ally of ours, who's amplifying our voices.
I'm only saying that, the Bernie bro thing was bad during the campaign. Hillary Clinton herself said Bernie Sanders maligned her character and cost her the election, right? Because they agreed on so many issues that he turned to a character assassination. It just seems odd that Bernie Sanders would be one of the premier speakers of this event.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that assessment. I think that's something that she put out there. But nobody, I don't think that real people in the movement agree with that at all. He was very light on her. He didn't bring up the emails. I mean, I'm not going to go down that path again, but I think it's important to realize we need allies. It can't just be 8 people in a corner shouting at each other all day to really make a difference. He's a senator. He is a ranking senator right now. If we want to make a difference, Fight for 15 is a perfect example. Who does Fight for 15 affect the most? Women and women of color. That is incredibly criminal justice reform. So we need leaders across the board who are fighting for these issues that affect women the most.
Ned.
No, I will say this though. I mean, it's a very nice glossing over of the fact that there is a struggle taking place within the Democrat Party, within the left, as to which will be the dominant voice inside the Democrat Party. Will it be the old line establishment Hillary Clinton types, or is it going to be the Bernie Sanders types? And I honestly would put my money on the Bernie Sanders types getting the upper hand in this moving forward, which I think is bad for the Democrat Party because I think they're far too left to where most of the American people are, and I think we saw some of that displayed in 2016 elections.
Far too left. On that note, because as you know, President Trump spoke at the Values Voters Summit earlier this morning, right? And he said something that was quite intriguing about which direction this company is going in. So if the Democrats are going far left, based on what President Trump said at that summit, the Republicans are going far right. Let's listen to what makes America great again.
It is our faith and our values that inspires us to give with charity, to act with courage, and to sacrifice for what we know is right. The American founders invoked our Creator 4 times in the Declaration of Independence, 4 times. How times have changed, but you know what? Now they're changing back again. Just remember that.
So, Ned, what does "they're changing back again" mean?
I mean, listen, I think the thing with Donald Trump, I mean, he was addressing, again, the Values Voter Summit in D.C., again, very much the evangelical base, giving them some red meat. I don't disagree, though, with his statements. A lot of these were just pretty obvious common sense. Founders mentioned God 4 times in the founding
last
documents.
part, like I got that part, but the last part, what did he mean by that? Where are we going back to?
How I took it as, Carol, and I watched the speech, is that things are changing. I mean, he's in here. I think I look at Donald Trump's approach as more of a common sense approach that appeals to a lot of the American people.
What is the common sense approach? Because that's political jargon. What is the common sense? I mean, what exactly does he mean? What are we going back to?
You know what? I think we're going back to where a lot of the American people are right now. Are they coming from a worldview that you would find centered in maybe where the founders came from? Yeah, sure. At the same time, I think what he's saying is we are going to protect religious freedom, which I think a lot of American people want to see. We're going to be seeing a lot of these things where the American people are right now, more middle of the road. We don't want to see far left, and this is more the middle of the road common sense approach. This is why Donald Trump won in 2016.
A big reason, yes. So Naomi, what are your thoughts? Where are we going back to?
I hope we're not going back to the age when our founders had slaves, because that's what I think this signals to so many people, and that's the fear that they have.
Oh my gosh.
This coded rhetoric. Well, I mean, when you say we're going back to this time, well, what is that time? Is it the 50s? Is it the 60s? Is it the 20s? Is it the 1800s? I mean, I don't know what that means. That era, if he really believes in the founders, then let's talk about the First Amendment, because he doesn't seem to respect that part of the Constitution that the founders represented. I think this is all coded rhetoric to keep his base alive. I mean, we obviously see the far right, the fascist far right rising up. And it is all about race, and you'd be in denial if it's not. And I think he's speaking to people to keep them engaged.
Come on.
Oh, the KKK rally?
The thing that you know what I think Donald Trump will do moving forward?
Oh, gosh.
I actually think he'll run again in 2020. He'll win re-election. He might even win 400 electoral votes. He's speaking to where the American people are right now. The Democrat Party is moving so far left of where the American people are. I think they're headed towards becoming the coastal regional party.
I think that's first thing. If you want to look at the polls and see what the actual numbers are, his approval ratings are lower than they've ever been. And with the Democratic Party, if I can speak on behalf of the party I represent, those under 45, 8 out of 10 of them are far more progressive. So that's the largest generation in history. So if you're saying the future of the party is conservative, you're looking at some flawed numbers. I urge you to look at the census report, Pew Research.
I'm looking at the fact the Democrat Party has lost 1,100 seats at the state and federal level since 2010.
I wish we could go on, but I'm going to end it there because
it's hurting.
Okay, I'm going to end it there. Thanks so much to you both, Ned Ryun, Nomiki Konst. We'll be back.
Thanks, Carol.